Welcome to the Oasis. My name is Mike, and today I'm very excited to announce a brand new series on the channel called VR Setups. Now, I thought this would be a great opportunity for you, the VR community, to share your VR play spaces, what VR headsets you're currently using, your favorite accessories, your PC specs, and also any tips and tricks that you've learned along the way, as these can be particularly helpful for those just getting into VR. Maybe you're a content creator like me. What kit do you use to make your VR videos? Or maybe you're a VR developer with some unique VR equipment that you want to share, like this crazy VR go-kart from the team at iLlusions. It looks completely insane, and I'd love to try it, by the way. If you want to be featured on the next episode of VR Setups, just email me your high quality photos and or videos of your setup with as much detail as possible to contact at virtualrealityoasis.com, and I'll share them on the next video. So what better way to kick this new series off than for me to share my own VR setup with you, as I get asked a lot of questions about what gear I use, my PC specs, and what are my favorite VR headsets. And hopefully I can answer a lot of those questions in this video today as I go over the different parts of my own VR setup. I hope you enjoy this look behind the scenes here in the studio, and without further ado, let's dive in. Okay, so welcome to my own VR setup tour, starting here at the very entrance of the office here, my little play space, and of course got the Rick Sanchez come in and get swifty mat here. Some safety equipment here on the left-hand side because it is a working office after all. Got a fire extinguisher because we've got plenty of electrical equipment in this room, and if anything was to go wrong, at least I would have a fire extinguisher here to deal with it, and of course a little first aid kit because, you know, punching walls is an everyday occurrence, as you can see from the wall here. Got loads of battle scars. I also share this space with this little fluff ball here. This is Ruby. She's a 4-month-old cockapoo puppy and the latest addition to our family. I generally look after her in the morning, so we get to spend a little bit of time together, which is really nice. Although just recently, she's learned how to escape from her pen, so I think I'm gonna have to come up with another plan to keep her away from all the expensive kit in this office. So here on the floor, we've got the actual play space itself. This is a 2 meter by 2.5 meter green screen sort of matting. The nice thing about this matting is that it's super soft. As you can see, it's quite thick, so you can really jump about on this. You can get down on your knees and not cause any problems. And in the center of the play space, to make sure I'm centered at all times, I use this little bad boy here, which is a proxy mat. And this is a real undervalued piece of kit. I use it every single day when I'm recording, and it's perfect for what it does. So basically, if you've not heard of this before, it's called a proxy mat. Again, it's a sort of rubberized mat. It's got like a texture on it, so you know which way you're facing. Just by putting your foot on it, you can feel the texture of the mat beneath you, so you know which way you're facing all the time. And then in the center, you've got this big rubber button, and then another button at the top there. So again, you can figure out while you're blind in VR, roughly which way you're facing in the real world. And also, I know that when I'm in the center of this mat, I can punch out, reach out, and I'm not gonna hit anything in any direction. So I know for the most part that my walls are safe as long as I'm in the center of this mat. And they've obviously customized this one with my Virtual Reality Oasis logo, which is super nice. Perfect bit of kit, especially if you're recording content, because when I'm in the center of this mat, I always know that I'm centered on camera. Now here you're sort of getting a bit of a glimpse behind the scenes here. You can see all the stuff in the background here, because this is a loft space room. It's at the top of my house where I live, and I share this space with my in-laws. So half of the space is my VR office and recording area, and the other space is their storage area for their stuff. So you're really getting a glimpse behind the scenes here that you never really get to see this stuff. So behind all the cameras and stuff, there is a bit of chaos going on. It's not always as slick as it looks on camera. So talking about cameras, let's cover the ones we've got here on this sort of tripod pole here, ring light. We've got the PSVR eye camera here, which I use when I play PSVR content, which is very rare nowadays, although I am very excited about trying out Iron Man VR, which just came out. We've got this ring light here, which I used to use all the time, which is nice. Gives your pupils this really nice look when you get fairly close up. But I haven't used it in a while, as I've kind of moved on my my lighting equipment, and I'll sort of explain what I'm using now very shortly. So in the center of this, I've got a Logitech Brio. It's capable of 4K, but I actually use it at 1080p at 60 frames per second. And this is connected to my PC using a really long cable extension, which runs all the way up there and behind the desk, and then into my gaming PC, which I'll cover very shortly. And then I sort of key it out with the green screen, and then you just see me in the little corner of the video most of the time. Same again with the GoPro here. I used to use this a lot for mixed reality content, but now I find that the Brio is actually better at it, has better contrast levels. So I don't tend to use the GoPro as much anymore, but I can use this as a backup body cam camera. While we're on this sort of part of the office, let me sort of go under this beam here. You can see it's kind of got a beam, so I have to kind of walk underneath it to get to the other section. But this is where a lot of the chaos is that you never really see behind the scenes. So this is my main intro and outro camera setup. So here I've got a Canon 750D, and that's set up with HDMI out, so I can just view on my PC exactly what the view is like and sort of make sure there's some props in the backgrounds that are correctly placed. And then that looks through some sort of darkened glass here. If I sort of duck underneath, and I use an iPad with a teleprompter app. I'll make sure the app is in the description down below, but this was a real game changer for me when I upgraded to this teleprompter and app. You can control the app with your iPhone as well in terms of how quickly it scrolls and stuff, so you can really make sure you get your videos out perfectly. And yeah, like I said, it's been a real game changer. So if you're a video content creator and you don't use a teleprompter, this is one upgrade that you should definitely do. So in terms of lighting, I've recently upgraded my lighting, and I'll show you the back of this beast here because this is an absolute monster of a light. And this is the Aperture 120D. Now, it was actually Peter McKinnon that got me onto this beast, and it's been absolutely amazing actually since I've moved the office around and changed my lighting setup. You've got a control panel here. You can turn it on, and it's pretty bright, and it's fairly close to me as well because my chair is just there where I do my intros and outros. And if I show you, you've got a little remote control with it as well, so you can turn it on and off with a remote, which is really nice. Whilst we're on the sort of subject of lighting, I should probably cover the upgrade that I did recently to these key lights. These are from Elgato. I've actually got 4 of these key lights now in the office. I've got one here, one up there, and I've got 2 covering the desk area for when I do the podcast. So I've got one small one here. This is the only little one I've got, just a mini one, which I use for a kind of a fill light, and then another key light here. The most amazing thing about these key lights, so I can turn on the lights all from here by pushing the buttons, and as you can see, this one's on now, and the 2 in the play area. And these just work really well for lighting me correctly when I'm doing my green screen stuff and body cam when I'm doing my VR gameplay videos. And again, if I just hold the camera there, you can see that I can remotely turn them off using the Stream Deck, which is really nice. And the great thing about these panels is that they kick out tons of light, but they're really, really thin. As you can see, they're completely wireless, so you just need to connect them to power, and they don't kick out much heat either. And previously I was using those big sort of light boxes here, which got super, super hot. And now, especially in the summer months, it's getting a bit warmer here in the UK. You definitely don't want all that heat bearing down on you. So these were a really nice little upgrade to the office, and I kind of staggered them this way for a reason. So this one is like an overview light, and this one's kind of a little bit lower. And that's because I found that with having both of them high up, I was casting a shadow under my sort of face where the headset was. So I had to lower this one down so it was kind of like evenly lit, not just across my body, but also my face. There wasn't a shadow underneath the headset. So there's definitely a reason for that, which is maybe interesting to some of you, maybe not. So up here, we've got the Steam VR base stations. These are 2.0 base stations that came with the Valve Index. Got one mounted there, and then if I spin this around, I've got a second one mounted up here. So they're kind of like facing each other diagonally across the room, so you can capture exactly what's going on in the Playspace in the middle, which is super nice. I used to have Oculus sensors up there when that was the thing with the Oculus CV1. I used to mount them underneath there and there. I think the mount's still there. Oh no, I took it down. But of course we don't need them anymore. We've got inside-out tracking now. Let me cover very quickly the other camera that I use. So here I'm using this Canon, which is a 250D with a Sigma lens, 30mm, and a Rode Video Mic Micro, I think it's called, with a smarter slider. And this is nice. This can give you really cinematic shots. I use it every now and again for B-roll, which is super nice. And again, on a Manfrotto tripod. I think that's pretty much all the camera equipment, at least this side of the room anyway. I can show you some of the really stuff that I'm not so proud of, and this is this storage area. It's absolutely jam-packed full of kit. You've got like haptic vests from B Haptics and Subpack up there. You've got a 3D printer here from Anycubic, which I use every now and again, which is, it's actually a really nice printer, but I don't use it as much as I probably should. Let me get some lighting up here actually, and I can show you in a bit more detail some stuff. It's a little bit better. So you can see here I've got some PSVR games with the PSVR aim controller. I love that thing. There's actually a funny story about this PSVR because I was gifted this one by Nathy along with the aim controller when I first went full-time on YouTube, and we met at VidCon. It was a super awesome gift, really, really nice of him. And yeah, so that's an interesting story about this headset. You've got a DK2 box there and a DK1 box there. That's proper retro stuff. There we go, check out that bad boy. Oculus Rift DK1. It's going to be a collector's item soon enough, I'd imagine. So it's nice to have that in the office now. Pro Volva, which I recently showed in a video. And also the big gun stock there, the Force tube, again from ProTube here. This is an interesting photo here. This is one of me and one of my best friends. Obviously in my old job, a lot of you know that follow the channel, I used to be a police officer. So yeah, that was sort of one of the last pictures I took before I left the police. Got my Pixel Rip backpack there, which now serves as a cable bag. I've got dozens and dozens of cables in there, and I need to dive into that bag probably like twice a week to find cables that I need for various bits and pieces. Got some blue lighting above here, again, sort of fill lighting, blue hue. You get that blue hue on the video, which I really, really like. And this is the sort of mic that I use for my intros and outros. This is a Rode NTG2 shotgun mic, XLR connections, runs all the way down to the back, and I'll show you the audio interface that I use very shortly. In terms of the mic that I'm actually using now to talk to you on, it's actually a Sennheiser ME2 wireless XS kit, and that goes into this little wireless receiver over here. So that's where the audio is coming from right now. So before we get into the desk, let me sort of show you my chair. This is the Secret Labs Titan. It's the biggest one that they do, and the thing is, I had this IKEA chair that I used for years that I did really love, but the problem was it was giving me back trouble, and that's why I ended up upgrading to this one, and I have to say I absolutely love this chair. Although one thing I've noticed is that it's really designed for taller people, and me being about 5'6", I can't actually have my feet reach the floor sitting on it naturally, so I have to use this little booster to rest my feet on while I'm editing videos and doing the podcast. So that's where my little feet are, so I'm not sort of dangling my legs and straining the back of my legs while sitting on this chair. But other than that, perfect chair, especially if you're a bigger guy. I think you'll really like the Titan, which is the biggest of the series. So super comfy chair, really glad that I invested in one of these, as it's been a bit of a game changer for me. Now, for those of you that have followed the channel for a long time, you might remember that I actually had these two monitors lined up here previously. But again, the problem was I was having back trouble because I was constantly sitting at an angle, looking at this monitor or this monitor, and it wasn't natural. So I was having a few back issues, and when I went to the chiropractor, he was like, tell me about your desk, and I told him, and he was like, yeah, you need to change that. So that's why I ended up moving to this configuration now, which was kind of nice in a way because it kind of spurred me to upgrade everything else at the same time. So now I sit more straight, almost where the line is in the desk, straight on with that monitor, and I use this as a second monitor. These are both 1440p monitors from Asus. This one has 144 hertz. This one's only capable of, I think, 60 hertz. But they're both super nice monitors, and they've done me well. I've been tempted with like one of those huge 49-inch curved bad boys, but I use this monitor as an output to record gameplay on the laptop sometimes using an AVerMedia capture card, so I think that would prevent that from happening. So I'm pretty happy with the configuration right now. But let's talk about the desk in general, because this desk, it was completely custom made. When I moved into this space, I knew I wanted a custom desk that was really futuristic and unique, and that's pretty much what I told the guy. I said I wanted something that incorporated sort of blue, white, and blue LED lighting, and he measured this space exactly and came up with this design in like a 3D CAD, and then made it, like, absolutely blew my mind. The work in this desk is incredible. As you can see, I've mounted some controllers there, but it's got this kind of lighting that goes all the way along the edge, which I think is really nice and really futuristic, and goes with my PC build that I ended up building later on down the line. You can turn all this off. It's all like remote controllable, so I can turn this off by remote and turn that back on again, which is super nice. So that's the desk lighting itself. And behind here, I've got storage, where I don't really want to give you a glimpse behind here, but there is so much wires and kit and power, and everything's kind of hidden behind there in terms of the spaghetti mess of wires. I've also got a NAS behind there, which is where I store all my video content. I think it's like an 8 terabyte NAS from Synology, which is connected via a network to my PC and laptop, so I can share files between the two. Again, some more storage in here. Again, lighting in here, so this is where I store like video equipment and audio equipment, should I need it for videos. And then on the top here, I've got some toys that I like to collect, like these Funkos, Ready Player One Funkos, which are really cool. I've got the Parzival there in the DeLorean. The DeLorean is actually part of like a Back to the Future set, and I think, yeah, Marty McFly's there, but it works well because obviously Parzival's car in the Ready Player One is a DeLorean. We've got a Vault Boy. We've got Back to the Future DeLorean there, Lego kit. Got a head crab from Half-Life. One of my favorite Funkos is this one in the middle, RoboCop. It's one of my favorite films of all time, so I'm really happy to have him. Got the extra life token from Ready Player One here as well. Some unique pin badges, actually. These are from Oculus Connect 4, I believe, which is a few years ago now. One of the first Oculus Connects I ever went to, so they are sort of special to me. And also up here, I've got the red and the blue pill from the Matrix, of course. Which one will you choose? Will you choose to dive down the rabbit hole or not? That is the big question. So these are another new addition to the office, some sort of greenery, as it was a bit too barren in terms of like no nature at all in here. So I've got a few plants now. I've got 3 up here on the desk, and I think they'll just look nice in future unboxing videos and some Instagram photos that I like to take every now and again to add a bit of contrast to the images. Instead of everything being a bit bleak and cold and white, we've got a bit of greenery there, which is nice. So we've got the Valve Index here, of course, with the Valve Index controllers. Valve Index has got the VR cover face kit in there, and also some lenses, prescription lenses, which I'll add in the description down below as well. Because if you wear glasses in VR, having prescription lenses is a real game changer and prevents you from scratching your glasses lenses, but also the lenses in the headset as well. So that's why I totally recommend them. Same again with the Quest here. I've got prescription lenses in there. I've got the VR cover facial interface kit, some blue tack over the sensor there for when I'm recording. I've got a Bluetooth transmitter at the back there, and another VR cover at the back. The Bluetooth transmitter is for transmitting audio. I've got a receiver here on the laptop, sort of tucked away underneath here. So if you want to record audio directly for a game and it doesn't support recording audio to the headset itself, sometimes it can get distorted. You can just send it wirelessly and record it that way on the laptop. The controllers here, these are obviously Oculus Touch controllers. They've got the Mammoth grips, which are really nice. If I just slip this on one-handed, I can sort of show you that you can kind of let go of the grip, a bit like the Valve Index controllers, which is really nice. And then it's got the Halo protective rings on the top there, which again, you know, if you're going to be smashing against your wall, at least you're not going to be destroying your controllers. You're just going to be touching the rubber rings, which is nice. A little bit of added protection there, although I'd imagine with a really strong whack, it's probably still going to break, but a little bit of protection helps anyway. So here we've got the Nanoleaf Aurora light panels. You see these everywhere for YouTuber and streamer setups. They're normally in the background. I really like them. I just think it adds something a little bit to the desk that, again, makes it look a bit futuristic. I used to just have the top row panels and recently added the other sort of row here, which I think just, you know, is really nice, particularly for unboxing videos and like sort of slow motion sort of sweeping shots, which I'm sure I'll add some B-roll to this video. It just looks really, really nice. So in terms of the laptop here, this is a Razer Blade, I think it's 15. I use this when I'm traveling out and about to edit videos. It's also VR ready with an RTX 2070 and an i7 processor. I think it's got 16 gigabytes of RAM and sort of 1 terabyte of storage, SSD storage. And this is really great. I actually bought this when I was part of the VR 180 Creator Lab, as they needed a high-spec laptop to be able to edit VR 180 videos on the go. That's why I ended up ordering that one specifically. And most recently, I've been using it to sometimes offload the recording of gameplay from my main PC onto that. So say if I want to play Half-Life Alyx, for example, on like the highest possible settings, sometimes it can be a bit hard work to do everything on one machine, so I kind of offload it to the second laptop there just to do the recording. So that is the laptop. And of course, we can't forget the heart of the setup here, which is, of course, the PC. So if I get down here, I can give you some bit more detail about this setup here. So this is a completely custom-made machine that I made myself. I love building computers, and this was a project that I'd been wanting to do for a long time and finally did it a few months back. So this is a new machine. So this is using an Asus Republic of Gamers Formula motherboard. So it's got the water kind of block built into it. We've got the Intel i9 9900K processor, which at the time was the best CPU you can buy. I think literally just this week, Intel have announced their next CPU, but I think I'm going to be happy with this for some time. It's got 64 gigabytes of Corsair RGB memory. This is mainly for video editing more than anything else. This computer build is way OP for just a gaming machine or a VR gaming machine. It's VR gaming and video editing in one combined package. We've also got the RTX 2080 Ti and plenty of Corsair fans, again, sort of RGB, which I've got kind of like on this looping effect. And the whole thing is water cooled. I got into water cooling from watching Jay's 2 Cents videos on YouTube. So if you're interested in water cooling PCs, then go and check out his channel. It's an awesome channel. He taught me everything I know about doing all this kind of stuff myself. It's a little bit nerve-wracking because sometimes the water leaks a little bit when you're building, which can give you a bit of a heart attack moment, but this has been super solid ever since I've made it, and I'm really happy with the result in the end, and especially now with the hot weather, it stays relatively cool. Let's move over to audio. So this is something that I've been getting into just recently, and I never kind of realized how deep this rabbit hole was when I got into it originally, but it's taken months to get to the point where I am at now. So let me sort of cover what I'm using. So these are Beyerdynamic studio headphones, the DT770 Pros, the 80 ohm editions. These are really nice for getting just natural sound out of your sort of editing. So if you're editing audio, it's going to sound as natural as possible on these, whereas previously I was using these HyperX headphones, which I've got currently connected to the Rift S, and these were just a little bit too bassy, so it wouldn't represent exactly what the audience was going to hear in the video, so that's why I ended up switching over to that in the end. I also recently got these monitor speakers, again, for trying to get as best representation of the sound when editing my audio as possible, and this was actually recommended to me by BMF VR. So Matt over at BMF recommended these. They're pre-Sonos monitor speakers, and they've actually worked really well, especially when mixing sort of background audio tracks over my top of my voice audio. It's nice to hear it back through a set of monitors rather than just headphones. In terms of audio interfaces, you can't really see it, but tucked behind here underneath the monitor is a Behringer X12 Air mixer. So I've got the shotgun mic here, the lavalier mic, wireless lavalier mic, which is connected to this dongle here, which I'm talking through right now, going in here, and the Shure SM7B microphone, all going into the mixer, 3 XLR inputs, 2 outputs, both to these Focusrite Scarlett. I think the bottom one is the Focusrite 4i4, the top one is the Focusrite 2i2, and that's connected to the laptop, so the audio is split between the two devices, laptop and machine. So if I want to split the audio when I'm recording, it doesn't matter which device I'm recording to, the audio will be exactly the same. And in terms of the microphone, the Shure SM7B, like this is the one I use for the podcast mainly. I don't really tend to use this one much on the channel, every now and again, because it just sounds so drastically different from everything else. You'll probably notice the difference between the lav mic and my introduction mic, but This is drastically different and a lot more bassy and is probably more suited to a podcast than maybe a normal voiceover work. In terms of like the keyboard and mouse, this is a Ducky. I can't remember exactly what size they call this. I think it's called a 60%. But I really like this one because it's got really silent keys. These are sort of mechanical keys, but silent. So listen to this. You can't actually hear that. So yeah, I really love this keyboard. It means I can work at night without disturbing anyone else in the house. And I've got the Razer mouse here. I'm not quite sure which one this is. Oh, the Basilisk. The reason why I chose this one is because it's got a thumb rest here underneath, which makes it a little bit more comfortable when you're using it for hours and hours on end. This is the Amazon Show, I think it's called. I use this to listen to the radio mainly more than anything else. I love to listen to funky 80s music while I'm working throughout the day here in the office. And just while before I move on from the Shure SM7B, I've got a cloud lifter here in the background because this is a very quiet microphone if you don't have anything powering it, and the cloud lifter certainly helps boost that audio up. So then this is the Stream Deck. This is what I was talking about earlier on. You've got loads of functionality on here. You can control the lights, you can dim them, you can fire up OBS, some sort of like Oculus Mirror, Oculus Debug Tool, Photoshop, Premiere, Steam. And so as we're sort of moving on, we've got some stuff in the background here, some YouTube stuff that I collected along the way, Retro Blaster, which I used in a video once, that 100,000 subscriber plaque from YouTube, which was super nice. Thank you again for all your support on the channel, by the way. Like, it's an amazing accomplishment, and I always have that above the computer, so I know how far we've come. Got a really cool little Lego character my wife got me for Christmas. Shows me in VR, enjoying the Oasis. Got some retro games here, Adventure. This is sort of a Ready Player One reference. And up here I've got some sort of name badges from events like OC4, OC5, OC6, VidCon, PAX, the VR Creator Lab, that was all there. And then this is a sort of a thank you to you guys, my audience, when we reached 10,000 subscribers, because originally this was 10 subscribers, and I had this in my setup downstairs. So if you remember that setup downstairs, you're a real OG of the channel, and I really, really appreciate your support. So moving on around here, we've got the Canon 200D with a Sigma lens, and this is what I use as my webcam nowadays. This was another recent upgrade for me, and it's been an amazing upgrade. It makes such a big difference, and you can add that kind of like really lovely blurry effect on the background, which is a really nice look, and we use that for the podcast mainly in Zoom meetings that I have with developers and friends and stuff like that. So that's super, super nice. And then finally, moving around here, we've got the Oculus Rift S, again with the Mammoth grips and Halo protector rings, and the HyperX headphones here. So that is pretty much everything in the studio here. If I haven't covered anything in enough detail, or you've got any questions about any of the kit that I've shown in this video, then just put them in the comments down below and I'll answer as many questions as I can. But yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this little guided tour of the studio, and now it's time to say goodbye and jump to the outro. Okay, so that's my VR setup and how I use this space to make VR video content on YouTube. Now, one thing I'm still working on is leveling up my audio. I'm pretty happy with the kit that I use, but sometimes I feel like I could get a bit more out of it with some better settings and EQ. So if you're knowledgeable in that area and you're a bit of a whiz kid when it comes to audio and you can help me out, then feel free to get in touch. I'd really, really appreciate it. Another thing I definitely want to add to this studio is air conditioning. It's starting to get warm here in the UK, and being in a loft space, you can just imagine how warm it gets. I'm even starting to melt here a little bit right now. But anyway, like I said at the beginning of the video, this series is an opportunity for you, the VR community, to share your setups, including any tips and tricks that you've found to get the most out of your VR experience. Maybe you've got a special way to run the cable for your headset, or a unique Playspace. I'd love to see them and share them on the next video. So just email me your pictures and video clips to contact@virtualrealityoasis.com. Also, if you're interested in any of the equipment that I use, I've provided links in the description down below. If I've missed anything, just ask me in the comments and I'll try to answer as many questions as I can. Let me know if you enjoyed the video and you're excited to see more VR setups on the channel, and if you like the concept of this series. Let me know in the comments down below. I'd really love to hear your feedback. Leave a like if you liked the video, make sure you're subscribed for all my future content, and as always, I'll see you on the next one. Cheers.